Well, folks, this is the time of the show where we go out across the world and we find someone who's making a difference in the money world in particular. I've had other people that didn't make much of a difference in the money world but I like people who are making a difference in the money world, and today is no exception. We have Colin LeMahieu on he's joining us from overseas, well, at an undisclosed location, we'll say, right? And he is the founder of a cryptocurrency named Nano, and the symbol is XNO. I also have Mr. Eric Tucker, who is one of our resident gurus we go to every now and then when I have a crypto question. Eric, welcome in.
Thank you.
Colin, welcome in.
Guys, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Now, first of all, there's so much confusion out in the money world in general, and even the stock world. When you say a stock, there's so many stocks and so many symbols. I love your symbol, Nano. Nano, or your name of your company. I mean, Nano. Tell us how you named the crypto and how the crypto Nano got started.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started Nano about 10 years ago. And actually it was called Roblox at the time. We changed it to Nano, mostly because people just didn't know how to pronounce Roblox, and it doesn't translate very well. So we got Nano. Very fortunately, that we really like that name. We think it kind of demonstrates what we're trying to do. You know, small, easy to move, Nano, easy. So we started that. I started in Austin, Texas. That's where I had lived for about 10 years. And now I'll tell you, I'm over in London. And yeah, we're doing that over here, connecting with people, making money better. So, you know, what we're trying to do is, unlike the rest of the crypto space, which is kind of trying to do anything and everything, we're focusing on that original thing, which is how do we get some sound money that, you know, the supply can't be tampered with. That's my big thing, is I just want that to be out there, and it has to be usable. So the usability part was why I embarked on this project rather than just using something else that was already out there.
Well, Eric was in my office about a month ago, and he said, have you heard of this cryptocurrency named Nano? And I said, no. He said, let me show you how easy it is to send money from one person to another. So I downloaded the app, and within 5 minutes, he sent me a token. I had the token in my account. But within 5 minutes, of course, of downloading the app and going through the process took like 20 seconds. It was amazing how fast it was to do that, just by one phone to the other. Yeah. And so that's what's amazing these days. And I think that's why the traditional financial world is kind of worried right now about this, about the simplicity.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the simplicity. I mean, when you look at banks and how much money they make simply off of transferring money, that is actually where the lion's share of their money comes from. So even if they don't realize what they're doing, they're not going to be happy about the possibility of it going elsewhere. And obviously, there's lots of other concerns. This whole industry is rife with regulatory tape you have to go through to do things right. And that's what we're doing.
Well, somebody had to wire me some money one day, a couple of weeks ago, and I have wired money before from my bank, and they charged me $25 to wire out, just like, it's so easy. It's sort of like what we do, just wire money. It's pressing one button at the bank, and it goes to another bank, and they press one button, and that's wired. And then somebody sent me money. Well, somebody sent me money. It cost me $25. It cost me $25 a cent. So they get me both ways, and that's ridiculous. That's one of those hindrance fees and nuisance fees, the reason why people don't like banks as much.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. When I embarked on this, I really didn't know how the underpinnings of banks work, and it's on 30-year-old technology. And I think part of the things that we're seeing with banks in response to cryptocurrencies, you know, they're trying to get alternatives and doing what they're doing. They are seeing that this is like a useful technology that customers want. However, they could have done this 20 years ago. You know, the technologies existed for a long time to make this possible. They just had no impetus to do it because they're sitting on, you know, their banking license and whatever. So there is going to be more companies. There are more companies coming out that are doing cheaper transfers. Free transfers is what we're doing with Nano. We think that free thing is important. You know, if you're making something as critical as money, something that underpins basically everything, you can't have a company sitting at the helm. It has to be like an open thing. It's like open source. That's what we're doing. We're making a free tool, and anyone can connect to it and use it.
I think the thing that clicked for me when I first found out about it was just, you know, when I would send a Bitcoin transaction, it would take 60 minutes for it to show up, and then they took fees. So if I sent you 1 Bitcoin, you'd get 0.9995.
And it takes so long.
Later.
I mean, that chain is getting longer and longer.
Yeah.
Bitcoin was, and then Ethereum has a gas fee that makes a lot of people mad.
Right.
Made me mad when I saw the gas fees, and they change depending on how much business is going on at the time. So gas fees don't make me happy, and they get bigger and bigger. It seems like.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, how could a business make use of that if the fees that you're getting charged vary so greatly month to month? It's like, I can't predict that. I can't project that. So people just don't use it. It was funny. I was at a Bitcoin store one time. It was general cryptocurrency in-person trading. So I went there, gave them some Nano, and they gave me local currency. And I wondered why they had stools sitting around everywhere. I was like, why would anyone need that? And it's because those transactions take 60 minutes to set up, except when it's Nano.
You should have some pillows and blankets there. It takes you to spend the night to get your money in there.
They're going to do like a multi-business approach, give you dinner while you're waiting.
Now, here, one of the biggest problems in the crypto universe these days, as it exists now, and I've talked to so many people, and they say the same thing, is the splintering. In other words, if I wanted to buy some Nano, I can't go to just one place to get it. There's all different exchanges, and getting your money into that exchange, and then exchanging that money for Nano or another crypto for Nano is not as easy as it could be. And a lot of people, it is easy once you understand it, but for the general public, and that's what we need to do. We need to break into the general public and get them familiar and comfortable using this and being able to send crypto. Is there going to be down the road maybe like 3 big exchanges that people can? I know this is decentralized, so you really can't, but to get your money there, it's just tough to get money into the crypto world to be able to buy crypto many times. I know you're available on crypto.com and some other places, but not Coinbase yet, I don't think. Coinbase seems to be the place where a lot of novice people go to get started, and then they branch off from Coinbase and realize that they're getting screwed on fees a lot of times there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we call that on-ramping and off-ramping to our currency. Ideally, in the long term, we hope that you don't need to change it into local fiat and you can just use Nano. That's the goal, but obviously we're not there yet. But yeah, they're splintering in the market. That is a good word for what it is. And it is not just a little bit of splintering. There are literally over 20,000 cryptocurrencies, most of them in a state of non-maintenance and not being used or just outright scams. So it is hard. People ask me, should they invest in cryptocurrency? And I basically say, if you have to ask me that question, the answer is probably no at this point. Because it is super risky currently. But that's a product of low liquidity. With higher liquidity, the value stabilizes out, and that's what we're trying to do. So back to your point, one of those things is, how do you get people in and out of this efficiently? And that is a tough thing. In order to set up those type of things, you need money transmitter licenses. That's why Coinbase is the big dog currently, at least in the States. And there's other exchanges. Kraken is also a very good. They support Nano, and it's hard to do it. They have licenses on the line. They have to be careful of who they list, and that takes time and money. We're a nonprofit. We don't have a lot of money to give them. In fact, we don't give exchanges money in exchange for that. So, yeah, we have to slowly step things out, making it as easy as possible for the ones that already exist, and just keep trying to get new guys to add Nano pairs.
Well, like we were talking before we had you on here, I was telling Eric, as long as you have time, crypto is a good investment or a good place to put some money, because you can't put it in today and expect to make a fortune tomorrow. Like some of the stocks you see, you buy a stock on Monday and it's doubled by Wednesday. Now, not anymore a lot of times, but back in the day when it's flying up. Same thing could happen to crypto, but you can't expect it to happen. And what I've seen in my life, the more time you have, the more relaxed you are, the more good things happen. And so being able to have that time once you get the money into crypto and let it grow. And what I like about Nano, it's not just a meme coin. There's so many meme coins out there. Like all they are is, like you said, you're buying I don't know what you're really buying. No one knows what they're buying. There's no usefulness of some of these coins. Right. Your coin is actually useful because you can move money from one place to another. You can have transactions with no fees, and the speed of that. Now, as more people get into your universe here, the Nano universe, will it slow down the transactions, or is your goal to keep speeding up?
Well, our goal is obviously to keep speeding up. So right now we are working on just simple software things that has to do with speeding it up, making sure it responds well under high load. The way I like to describe it is that Nano we have the software implementation, and we have basically the description, which is the specification on how it works. The specification has no limit as to how fast, how many can be in there. It is unlimited. So all of the things we encounter right now are just simply a matter of what hardware is put onto it. So our network currently is a lot of enthusiasts. These people are crypto enthusiasts. They love Nano and they run machines and they volunteer to do that. However, those are, often cloud rented and they're not top end. I envision a thing in the future where these are run by banking institutions where they can put significantly more money, but they don't have to put a lot of money to it. That is our goal, is to make the software as efficient as possible. But they can get the really fast internet connections. They can get the really fast disks and everything. It doesn't cost much for them. And yeah, I don't quite know where the limit will be, but it will certainly be processing more transactions than we typically process today, and allow smaller values than we currently do today, which is one of our focuses.
Well, it's amazing how fast it was to me. I mean, because I've watched a Bitcoin transaction before, you're right. Yeah. And Ethereum was slow too when I've done that. And then you pay a lot of gas fees for Ethereum. So the blockchain, that's something that a lot of the public really doesn't understand yet, how important it is to embrace the blockchain and how secure it is. You want to talk about the blockchain for a minute?
Yeah, I mean, I probably differ than a lot of people in the crypto space on this. I think a lot of people think it can apply to a large swath of industries and different things. I am not of that opinion. I think money is one of the things that it is perfect for. And I think blockchains and money make sense. But, like identity verification, I don't think that's necessary. Or supply chains and like tracking physical goods, I think is actually a particularly bad case for blockchains, because they're immutable. And in the real world, things move around, things get lost, things get done accidentally. Or, what if there's like judicial intervention and then property is reassigned? Now the blockchain is permanently out of date compared to reality. So I don't see it as solving a particularly good problem. It's a lot more expensive and slower than just simply what we do today. But money is the one where you need to reach everyone. You have one purpose. It's just to move these little accounting numbers around, so it's not complicated. And that is what a blockchain can do very well for decentralization.
Well, yeah, folks, we're talking to Colin LeMahieu, and he is the founder of a cryptocurrency named Nano, and the symbol is XNO. Eric, tell me, how did you first find out about it?
So I found out about it on Reddit, interestingly enough. I was new to the space and I was just looking for, what's the new, biggest thing. And people were talking about Nano, and I looked it up and found a way to get my hands on some. And then as soon as I sent a transaction and saw how fast it was with no fees, I was like, this can't be real. Yep. This is incredible. This is like how Bitcoin was supposed to be.
Do you want to send me one right now?
Sure.
So let's show people how fast it is, Colin. Colin's holding his breath. All right.
I know, right?
So
it's always when the demo works.
Yeah. So the hardest part of this is just downloading the app. So you download the app. That's the most time consuming. Just finding the app. That's human kind of time, because you have to search for the app and download it. But it was a fast download. Yeah. I put it on before the show. I press receive.
See, I got a little.
You press send.
The QR code. There it is. There it is.
And it's in. That's how fast it is. We showed this on the screen for folks so they can see that. But yeah, it's it's crazy how fast that is.
This is the best way that I've seen to introduce people to Nano. I can tell them all about, the technology, the blockchains, blah, 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 eyes glaze over, they don't care. But once you get it in someone's hand and say, here, I sent you one, that's like $1, and they don't have to set anything up. They just download the app. Then it all of a sudden clicks and saying, this is what you can do with it, with money, when it's not constrained in the way it is today. And that's our purpose, is to open it up to everyone.
Yeah. And the fact that it's a limited supply. So it's already fully distributed. There's not any more Nano that's going to come into existence, which I think nowadays is a bigger thing that people are starting to realize. Inflation is a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, decreasing our purchasing power. So.
Yeah, I know. That's the one thing that kind of bums me out. I mean, we're seeing the impact of monetary inflation all over the world, quite frankly. And what bums me out was that 10 years ago when I started in the crypto space, I thought we would be in a place where, people can finally get a money that doesn't have the ability to be inflated. We would be in that position, but it's fragmented. The space is fragmented. They kind of lost their way a little bit on what the users need. So unfortunately, we didn't get that tool as an industry in time in order to help us out here. But I hope we can learn some lessons on this. Monetary inflation is a serious problem, and it's subtle.
Now, there's going to come a time, though, there has to come a time where crypto separates from the stock market. Right now, they've been marrying each other. Like the market goes down, so does crypto. When we say crypto, we're talking about the whole market. I know there's some cryptocurrencies that have been doing well. And so my opinion's always been, I look at crypto as an alternative for the stock market, an alternative for gold a lot of times. Some people buy gold. Gold just sits there in your safe and does nothing. It goes up and down depending on what the market is. It's not earning anything, and it has really no use. So you're going to take a gold block out of your safe and go buy a haircut with it? Yeah. No. So
off of the one.
Yeah. So my vision here, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you want more places every single day to accept crypto and as a transactional good. And if we can do that, we can make the crypto market a market just like the stock market or just like the monetary market, but it's its own universe. And I think that's a goal. We want to separate from the dollar as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the stock market and currencies are slightly different, but the goal is the same. So stocks are profit-making, revenue-generating entities. They have they build things. They make things. Currency is just supposed to be a way to transmit these things around. So some people do look at it as speculative. They buy cryptocurrency, they want it to go up. You can do that, but that's not the purpose of it. The purpose is to get it to a stable point. So there's a lot of fluctuation in the crypto market as far as valuation. And that really just comes down to its low liquidity. If you look at currencies and how much is traded daily, they have charts of these things. The entire crypto market is like number 20 as an aggregate on that list. It is less than 1% of global FX trades per day. So there is simply not liquidity anywhere close to any of the major currencies you hear about, dollars, yen, euros, pounds. So getting those liquidity numbers up will eventually stabilize the value as more people go in and out of it. But until then, it is not predictable, in my opinion, despite what some people may say.
I think that's one of the big things for me that clicked is just being able to send it, instant and feeless, and then the fact that there's no mining, as we're becoming more green conscious, that's going to be a much bigger thing, getting away from the mining and all the energy usage and just waste.
Yeah, absolutely. That was another big reason why I got into this, because I do think, if we're making this new technology, it can't consume enormous amounts of energy. It uses more energy than entire countries. Mm-hmm. That's not, it's not something that's sustainable. I hate using that word because it's, applied weirdly, but frankly, the energy costs are going up rapidly. So what is that going to say for, technology that depends literally on the price of energy? So the answer is you don't have to do things that way. You can still be decentralized. And in fact, you can be very fast and fearless just by using a different little bit of technology on how we do it. And the feeless nature, I think that's another really good one. It allows micropayments in ways that we've never seen before. There's a lot of people interested in doing things like, how do I accept little micropayments on my website rather than, plastering it with ads? And I barely get any ad revenue out of that. People can pay just directly to me, like 5 cents, 10 cents, using Nano. And you can't do that with a credit card. The credit card fees will eat everything. You can't do that with bank transfer. It's just not possible. So there's a lot of options for things that might be possible.
You have some of these gas stations, you can't even do a transaction under, $5 or something.
Yeah.
Imagine if all the gas stations were able to accept,
They charge you 10 cents more a gallon, too, if you pay credit card as opposed to cash. So the feeless nature is amazing to me. And my question to you is, how does the company stay, or not the company, how does the token stay in, or the coin stay in business if they're not making any money? Like that, like Ethereum, that's what they say. Well, we have to charge these gas fees to stay in business.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's necessary. And in the way that people use this is that right now it is run by hobbyists. So they're doing it because they want to. But in the future, this is a cost-saving endeavor. if you can use Nano to do, let's say international wire transfers, every single one of those costs you $20 to $40, depending on what your bank is. How many wire transfers do you do per month? How much does it cost to run this server? A cloud server is going to cost you one wire transfer per month or two. So if you can save just two, you have done an enormous amount of savings.
Makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, you look at it from the other side, and I think that's another thing that gets missed in the crypto industry. They're so interested in, how do I turn this on how do I download the software and turn it on, and then money gets printed. It just comes out, for running this. But they're not looking at it from a business aspect, which is how do we make things more efficient? How do we save? And it's in the savings side where the benefit of running a Nano node is.
Now, fluctuation in the crypto market in general has a lot of people scared. They see it go way up. They put some money in the crypto market, and then the next day they're way down or whatever. It's bouncing all around. What do you see the future as far as fluctuation in the crypto market in general, and then how about Nano itself?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, with these low liquidities, it is hard to predict things, and predicting things on a day-to-day basis is just one of those impractical things. I think, right now in the last few months, we've seen a large major contraction in the crypto space. There's bankruptcies everywhere. There's miners that are going under. So I think that's going to continue for a little bit. I don't know how long it'll continue, but I think there's going to be a market contraction in the crypto market, which I think will be beneficial because there's just too much out there. It's not solving enough problems. And when it comes down to paying those businesses, if they're not being profitable, if they're not generating things that people need, they're going to fold. And I think there's going to be a lot more that are going to fold in the coming months.
Well, people have to use the currency. It's not meant to just buy and put in the safe like gold. And that's what a lot of people have done. They've just bought some crypto and put it away and hope that it's going to go up. But if no one's using it, it really doesn't have a use. So
yeah, you're absolutely right on that. And that's one thing that we've tried to change the crypto space. I always talk about hold. And we at Nano, we talk about spend and use, because you're exactly right. It needs to be moving. People need to find it useful, because what are you going to do? Put it in a safe and then pull it out, and one day no one's using it. So
throw it away.
It has no value. Yeah, no, it has to be useful. So we focus on that.
It's not a place for hoarders, in other words. I mean, this is a place to use. And so we're not buying and putting away. If once you use it one time, like when he sent me that one coin, I became amazed. I mean, it's amazing to see how it works and how fast it is, and how there's no fees on the transaction is amazing to me.
You can tell that it's going to be extremely useful, and it might just take some time for it to click, but I think it's going to be very, very big. And there's a lot of
Well, let's look at let's do this. Let's look. I know we don't have a crystal ball, but let's look at 2025 and then 2030. Where do you see Nano in a couple of years, and then about 7 years, or 8 years or so? Where do you see Nano as far as the number of people that accept it now, and where you'll be in 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, it's only speculation, obviously. But in a couple of years, we have a couple of really good connections that we're trying to make with Nano. So there's banking connections that we're doing, trying to get that seamless on and off ramp going, so people can go into Nano and go out of Nano whenever they please. So that'll be developed farther, and we'll see what the adoption is on it. We're going to push that 2030. I'd love to be seeing this as a significant currency player globally, or at least in regions. It's going to take a lot of time to move out. This is not a short-term project. This is not a short-term endeavor of ours. It will take a long time for people and institutions to move over. But there are places in the world that we think have a higher probability of adopting this quicker and immediately. And those are people that are excluded by the banking system right now. A lot of us don't realize how hard banking is for billions of people in the world, literally billions of people. 2 billion people in the world don't have bank accounts. That's not because the banks just don't want people. It's because regulatory requirements or costs are too much. And those are the people that we can reach. We can connect them to the world, so they can have access to the global economy. They can have a currency when they couldn't have anything other than cash before. And we want to see that adoption. So 2030 would be great to see major adoption in these areas where banking has otherwise not penetrated.
Was it El Salvador that went to Bitcoin in their government? Was it? And so that they did it almost the worst time when Bitcoin was like 61,000 a coin. But I think it still makes sense to as a government, you can. I mean, how many millions or billions does it cost the government to have a banking or centralized currency system and all that? So think about the money governments could save by offlifting the problem of looking after money. Of course, governments don't like that because they like to control the money. So that's the hardest part.
That's true. And when people really kind of dig down, it's like, how is crypto different? What's the deal? And actually what it is, the functional difference is that counterfeit enforcement costs essentially nothing. It's because the software checks that counterfeiting cannot be done. Whereas when you have a fiat currency, those bills need to be designed, they need to be made. You need police to go out, find counterfeiters, arrest them. It all costs money. The bills need to be replaced. They break. It costs money to literally make them. So when that's all done by software, that's the start of this whole like, okay, we can actually make easier money and we can use it.
And the fact that there can't be any more printed just at will by the Fed. That's big.
That's amazing.
For me.
Yeah. How many? How many outstanding coins are there on Nano? Do you have the number or?
The circulating supply is 133 million. And people kind of ask us 133 million. Well, there's 8 billion people in the world. How are you going to do that? That number is actually very, very divisible. So there's 30 more decimal places on it. So you can divide it as small as you want, as many times as you want. You're never going to run.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So 133 million is not a lot. I've looked at some of the cryptos, like I think Shiba has like how many billions and billions of things like that. And so when you talk about billions of coins, I mean, and you invest. Some people invest in these to try to make a profit. It really has to have a heck of a outstanding year or two for the money to really go up because you have too many outstanding coins. Same thing in the stock market. If you have a company like Intel's a good example of that. They kept splitting back in the last couple of decades. Their stock 2 for 1, 2 for 1, 3 for 1. Now there's so many shares. Even when it has good news, it doesn't move. That's what I like about a limited number and a finite number of coins available. 133, really a million. That's not bad at all. Yeah, absolutely. Like the stability of money from the supply side, it is an absolutely essential thing, in my opinion. I do not subscribe to the idea that it can be inflated or adjusted by people because they don't know. Just as all of us don't know, there's no experts that know how things will go. So how can they print money accordingly? It also damages people that are holding money, and that comes down on people that typically have the least amount of money. As a proportion of how much they hold in the bank, they hold a higher percentage of their value in banks. So it's a regressive tax when we are printing money on people that are holding currency, and it affects it affects them the most. So fixed supply, I am absolutely a stickler on that one. It's not universal in the Nano community, the opinion on that, but the ones that know what Nano's for and what we're doing here always talk about fixed supply being essential, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to, to a certain extent, this is a new endeavor. Like making a currency is not it's not something someone typically does. It's like no one wakes up. It's like, I'm going to make a new currency, but we think there's a reason for it, and we got to stick to our ideals and our goals on
and
that.
I think one thing just to point out, I know Colin, you would never say this, but the way that this was created, I think was just extremely ethical. The way that they created all the coins, and then he didn't get himself rich. They gave away the entire supply, fully distributed.
Tell me about that.
Through CAPTCHAs.
Yeah, I wish we'd have found out about it before.
So people would solve these little CAPTCHAs, and they would get Nano for free. And a lot of them were in these poor areas of the world, where they had the time to do that, and then they could, get.
Well, that's a good way to get it all over the world too, like that. Get the distribution.
Absolutely. That was I approached that problem in my software engineer way. I was like, what do we need? We want as many people as possible that have access to this, and we want to make sure there's a human on the other end. Like there isn't, some bot collecting all of this. So that's what a CAPTCHA does. It identifies a human on the other end. So people were doing that. It's a really fun story. I used to get messages from people where In some parts of the world, just clicking this faucet every day for a week was making them more money than their job was. I'm like, well, don't break your fingers doing this, but I'm glad it's working out for you. $15 a week can make that much.
Yeah, well, it does in some areas of the world.
Yeah, so it can't be treated as a security. That's the other thing too. Is I think a lot of these cryptos, there's a lot of scams and there's a lot of stuff that's eventually going to get clamped down on. I mean, this passes the Howey test, so
you want it clean. You've got to be clean like that. And so let me ask you, I've got one final point, then you can make any points you want, Colin, but when did you get the, what I call crypto fever? When did it hit you that this makes so much more sense than fiat currencies?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I've read about Bitcoin originally, obviously Bitcoin. I read about Bitcoin on Slashdot, it's like a tech magazine. It's kind of an older one, but I read about it and I was like, oh, cool, digital money. Forgot about it for 3 years because I'm not really an investor type. And I came back, I was like, well, what happened to the digital money that I saw a while ago? Why it's been so long? And then I looked in the industry and I was like, oh, there's like 3,000 of these and they're just making more and more. They're forgetting the fundamentals. And then that's when I started realizing it's like, no, this is way more valuable than I thought. This gets us fixed currency supplies. This gets everyone the ability to send everyone else in the world money without intermediaries. This is amazing. Yes. We have to make it functional. We have to make it useful. So I was like, well, actually, I tried to pitch some of the ideas I had for Nano, the design stuff to people, but no one in the crypto industry was interested. They wanted to collect fees. They wanted to be able to print money for the devs, all that stuff. So I had to make it from scratch.
Well, I mean, but once you see this world, it's hard to unsee it. I mean, and it makes so much more sense than what we've all grown up with is collecting physical dollars or sending checks or all the kind of stuff we've grown up doing. So I think breaking that mold and breaking into people's minds in a nice way and showing them there's better alternatives in a friendly way. And when you have no fees on transaction, that's a really friendly way. A lot better than getting hit with gas fees or waiting an hour for a Bitcoin transaction to go through. I was amazed at the speed and I was amazed at the cost effectiveness, obviously, of the Nano app. Well, not Nano app, it's Natrium app, right?
Yeah, Natrium app, they do really good. Yeah, well, thanks on that. I mean, those are the fundamental things that we have to do. What does money do? It needs to go quick and it needs to have the least amount of friction, which means no expenses. So we think Nano is the perfect embodiment of that. And it's just a matter of now connecting it to people that can make use of it. And that's what we're doing.
We'd definitely like to reconnect with you about once a year at the minimum to see how things are going. And any final points you want to make here?
No, I mean, I think just, the ability to send it anywhere in the world in a second or less is just, it's very compelling. I mean, somebody made a YouTube video, I don't know if you've seen this, but they're sending one Nano around the globe and they sent it to 11 different countries on 6 different continents and it was like 60 seconds to make it all the way around. It's just incredible.
Probably the only thing that slowed it down to 60 seconds is just the internet's available around the world, the speed of the internet around the world. That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's actually the speed limit on Nano. It's how fast the computers can communicate over the internet. That's the only stopper. So it can go to the speed of light. So it'll never be instant, like literally zero. It'll take a couple milliseconds, but less than 1 second.
Fast.
That's fast enough. As long as I can go, be walking through a turnstile, tap it, and then the light lets me through. That's our use case. We'll have to be able to do it in 1 second. Otherwise, we haven't achieved our goal.
Well, you ever try to put a check in the bank and they say, well, we got a 7-day hold on this check right here. Why? The bank's using the money for 7 days. So that's a game.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's odd coming over here in London where if I say I use a check, they're like, what are you talking about? This isn't 1970. But the fact that it hasn't changed is the problem. We should have an app that we can just send money to the person standing in front of me. I don't need to ask someone to do that.
No middleman. That's the thing.
Yeah, no middleman. Big thing. That's a really big thing.
I tried to send a Venmo transaction the other day and it said it was declined. And I was like, why? I have the money right there.
Well, that's another thing where these payment places like PayPal, they're trying to say, well, if they don't agree with your politics, they're not going to let you be on their system or they're going to fine you or all sorts of stuff like that. That's what I like about decentralized currency. No one's going to be telling you what to do with your money. And that's the main thing. And again, his name is Colin LeMahieu. And Colin, you've done a great job so far, and we look forward to talking to you again. Any final points?
Yeah, I mean, I just want you, like, I would recommend if people are interested in it, try it out. There's free Nano faucets. You'll get a very tiny amount, but you can just try it with your friends, see how fast it is. And yeah, just let you know, the cryptocurrency industry is always going through flux, so be careful with your money. And we hope one day we will be landing on a currency that can't be inflated, can't be manipulated, can't be stopped by people. So we'll get there. Well, glad to talk to you in the
One
future.
thing, if somebody wants to download the app, how do they do? They go to the App Store on any phone, and what do they look for?
Yeah, if you go to nano.org, there is a listing of all of the wallets that are available. Natrium is one that people use, and also Nults is another one if you want to use it on your desktop. So, Yep, use it, download it, get it from a faucet or a friend, and try it out.
His name, folks, is Colin LeMahieu, and the coin we've been talking about is Nano. Colin, thanks for your time. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Colin.